Welcome to the Friendzy.
I'm Melissa Carter.
And I'm Jen Hobby.
And here is our promise to you. The Friendzy is here to change the conversation around age
so that you can celebrate all your years rather than lie about them.
I'm Melissa, and I was born during an emergency C-section where they weren't sure they could save both me and Millie Pete.
Whoa, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Jen, and
I always throw Jen off.
It's I'm like,
oh. It's like, yeah, if I can make Jen not continue with her own story. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Then I've done a good job.
We're going back to that. No, we always have to. I'm Jen, and sometimes my husband borrows my toothbrush.
What?
When I freak out about it, he says, "But we're in love."
He does. He's a grown man and he uses your toothbrush.
Yes. And he won't, it leaves me stunned every time. So I'm not the weird one.
No, I don't share toothbrushes with people.
I mean, I love him. I share all kinds of things with him, but my toothbrush is mine.
Yes, there's some things that you keep to yourself. I will elbow my son for grabbing my toothbrush, let alone somebody I'm sleeping with. Come on now.
All right. So, okay, go back to the emergency C-section. I did not know how this brought you were brought into the world.
I was brought into the world in trauma. So, in like a lion, hopefully out like a lamb is what I say. But my mother got a toothache during the last month of her pregnancy, and now this is back in 1970, right? So there were medications being used that were harmful to children. So I think prior to that, there was some kind of sleeping pill that they were giving pregnant women that caused deformities in their babies.
Oh no.
And so my mother was aware of all, my mother was like, I don't want to take anything until this baby is out. And so she started developing a toothache and she thought, I'm not going to the dentist. I'm not doing this. Mm-hmm. And it got so bad that she's like, I can't not go. And so she went to get a tooth pulled and then went into labor that night. And the medications were still in her system. And so her blood wouldn't clot. And so they were like, and I was having problems coming through the canal, and they were like, we need to do a C-section, but her blood won't clot, but the baby is going to lose oxygen soon. So they basically were in a good, I don't know how long, it probably was only a matter of minutes, but it was this, what are we going to do? Because we can't save the baby and we don't want to put the mother's life at risk. And then apparently her blood clotted or began to clot at the last minute. And they were able to get the C-section in and get me out. But it was like a harrowing, say, half hour where they weren't sure where I was going to make it or not. So, yeah. And then I was in a plastic bubble for the next day just so they could check me out. I mean, I was healthy when I was born and nothing happened, but just as a precaution, they put me in a plastic bubble. And my father tells the story of how he wanted to see me and it was kind of fogged over. And, they had the little gloves in and stuff and trying to see me and, and that's how I was born. I was the girl in the plastic bubble when I first came into the world.
It makes me think about your mother. Aren't mothers heroic?
Oh my gosh.
Moms, like if you have birthed a child, I just want you right now to pat yourself on the back. Like everything you went through to bring that baby into the world, it's just amazing. So
and then on top of that,
I'm giving a heavenly high five to your mom right now.
Yes. Well, the other thing too with mothers and with mom, like, so she hadn't had a chance to see me yet. And then she she started throwing up on the medications they gave her to help her with the pain. So she had to put a pillow on her incision, her C-section incision, and puke the first day. So like this poor woman, yes, so every birthday I really did.
I bet she just thought, I just want to see my baby. I just want to hold my, she wasn't thinking about herself or her incision or her barf or whatever. None of that mattered. She was just wanting to be with you and hold you. And a mother's love is tremendous. It's, And so it's mind-boggling to me.
Every birthday, I would always call her and wish her happy birthday because I'd say, you went through so much for me to be here. And so when my birthday came around this year, I had so when you lose somebody, you have to give yourself a year because all these things pop up that remind you of them or, some experience you had together. So on my birthday, I had a great day and it wasn't until lunchtime that in my mind, I thought, I need to call mom. And then I broke down for like 5 minutes because it just hit me like a wave, or like a wall really that oh my God, this is the first birthday that I don't get to call her and thank her for all the effort she made, So, but yeah, that was a tradition of mine because it was just without her and without those doctors, I wouldn't be here. But yeah, that's a true story that, I was traumatic. I was a emergency baby and probably in the NICU for a day. And here I am. So yeah, I hope my death is a lot smoother than my entrance. Right.
Yeah, that's what's the phrase that you used? You said in like a lion. I've never heard that before.
Really? Yeah. That has to do with spring. So the idea is that however spring comes in, and now it may be based on something else, but I've always heard it when it comes to spring, that if it's in like a lion, out like a lamb, that's the weather. So if spring comes in with a lot of thunderstorms and then it goes out very, peaceful weather. Now that could be from something else, but it was always farming that I heard that phrase. So yes.
Is that from being from Tennessee?
From Tennessee. And my dad was in agriculture. So I guess it was a little bit of farming there, but the idea is that if it's a balance, so however it comes in, it's going to go out differently. So there you go.
Makes sense. I love it. I love it. All right. Coming up on today's episode of The Friendzy, our featured guest is Chassie Post, a sought-after TV style correspondent, host, and lifestyle editor who is best known for bringing her upbeat style savvy to women across the country. She is a guest on national television shows like The Today Show, Extra, Entertainment Tonight, E!, Wendy Williams, and so many more. And Chassie covers the hottest trends in all things style. So from fashion to design to entertaining, she covers it all. She'll dish about the Oscar red carpet looks. She can incorporate like bold color into your home decor. Millions of viewers have seen her as their go-to style source, and she is going to be the style source for The Friendzy coming up today.
I mean, her energy, I cannot wait for you to see this woman's energy. If you've not already been familiar with her, she's just a gem. Plus, Jen has a pep talk to get your week started off the right foot.
All right. But before we get into it, Melissa Carter.
Yes.
How are you? What is new with you?
So I have had a struggle this week as a dog mom. So I know that I post a lot on social media, Melissa Carter ATL, about my cats, but I don't talk a lot about the fact that I'm a dog mom. And so I have a dog named Gigi. She is 14 years old, we think. She's a rescue. Katie and I, when we were together, got her from Adopt a Golden here in Atlanta, because she's part golden, but she's part terrier. So her face is terrier, her body's golden, and she's kind of mid between in size. So she's a mid-sized dog.
Sweetest looking dog. Oh my gosh, she is so sweet. She's always been so gentle, and she just has a sweet little spirit about her. Gigi.
Yeah, she is a very gentle soul, and she has epilepsy. So she was, talk about in like a lion, out like a lamb. She was born in a puppy mill environment. She was adopted, and then they discovered she had seizures. She had epilepsy. They gave her back. I think that happened twice to her. So by the time she got to me and Katie, we were like, yeah, we'll take care of this dog. Like, how can you reject this dog because of seizures? And then we experienced the seizures, and you get used to it. At first, it's a little traumatic, but you get used to it. And so we learned how to take care of her.
Angels. Y'all are angels.
Well, and
so sweet.
Gigi's the angel. And so she has developed the nickname Lazarus because she has endured a lot of things. Like I said, her beginnings. And then there was a time when she fell off the bed and she had a slip disc in her back and she couldn't walk, and she survived that. And I'm trying to think some other things that we've had some scares with her, because Katie and I, even though we're not together, our animals are still our animals. So Katie's still involved, and
you co-parent a child and your animals.
And the animals. Now, we're not the lesbian couple where she takes custody of the dog back and forth, because there's a lot of lesbian couples out there that do shifts with animals, shared animals. But I take care of Gigi most of the time, but Katie's in there if something goes wrong. And so in January, Gigi, who I could take her on a 5-mile hike, but she wants to pee in the house. Okay. She's that old lady. So I have puppy pads in a certain area of the house where she's very good about, if she needs to go to the bathroom, she goes on there. So the reason I know she had blood in her urine is because she'd peed on the puppy pad. And I was like, okay, there's something wrong here. And she developed a little cough. And I thought, okay, this is it. So again, because she's about 14 and she's had ailments before this, I'm like, all right, this is it.
Yeah.
So I took her to the vet. then they were very good about pandemic and dropping off in the parking lot and stuff. And so I took her in, and they said she's got a bladder infection, but we don't see anything wrong with the cough. Like, there's no fluid in her lungs. We'll give her antibiotics and move along. Okay, cool. And then she, the pee cleared up and she was fine, but the cough didn't go away. The cough didn't go away.
More than a cat, more than 9 lives on this dog.
Exactly. Yes. So she, the cough didn't go away. And then earlier this month, there was a day where she coughed and did not stop coughing. She coughed and coughed and coughed. And Mr. Carter was with me, and it kind of scared him a little bit. And he was the one that said, Mama, you got to take her to the vet. So scheduled the next morning, and they were like, we would like you to come in with her. So they did a very good job about making sure everything was clean. I wasn't too freaked out to go to a medical facility during the pandemic. They put me right into a room. There was no waiting. No other people were in there. And it was me and the vet, and mask and 6 feet and everything. So, because that's a constant concern of mine. Right. And I thought, but I needed to care for this dog. So anyway, he, and I've been with this vet since I was in my 20s. And, so he kind of felt around and felt a tumor on her neck. And he was like, I wonder if this is what's causing her coughing, because they realized there was nothing inside. There's no fluid in her lungs. So it was something on the outside that was causing her to cough. So he said, I'd like to keep her overnight. I want to do a check to see if there's any other tumors. So when I came home without her, Mr. Carter was not happy about that. He had already suffered the loss of his cat last year. I had a 20-year-old cat that passed away, and his grandmother died last year. So death for him is something like he has a good relationship with God, and he understands heaven. He has his own definition of what happens, but he doesn't want anybody to leave. He's done with people leaving. So he was upset. So I had to explain to him about tumors. I said, I'm just going to be honest with him. And I said that, there are good tumors and bad tumors. And we don't know if she has good tumors or bad tumors. And then I said, and I told Jen this, that I told him that doctors are the ones who get to talk to God. I said, I don't know if he knew that. And he said, really? And I said, yeah. I said, doctors actually get to talk to God. So doctors do everything they can to make you feel better. But if there's a case where you're not going to feel better, then they talk to God, and God makes the final decision on whether they get to stay or have to go to heaven.
That is so brilliant. I truly think you need to write a children's book based on just that idea that randomly popped in your head as you're trying to explain this to your son.
That's me pulling it out of my ass. That's exactly what that was.
It's so good because it helps them understand it a little bit better on how an animal could go to heaven at the vet's office.
Right. Yes.
So good.
And so I told him it's God's decision if our vet has to call him. And so Mr. Carter was very anxious, and they found another tumor, a bigger tumor inside her spleen. And so the vet said, I think she's healthy enough to endure surgery, but this spleen is going to rupture and she's going to bleed to death if we don't do it. So do I have your permission to go? He said, I want to try. And like I said, I have a long relationship with this vet. And I'm like, well, if he thinks she can make it, then yes, go ahead. We'll figure it out. Katie and I'll figure out the cost. So they took the spleen out. While they were in there, they also found another tumor, and they took that out. And she survived the surgery. And he said, I'm going to send off the tumors to the lab to see what kind of tumors they are. He said, but I'm going to send her home to you tomorrow because I feel like an animal heals better at home than here in a cage. So I said, great, thinking, oh my gosh, she's going to be in so pitiful shape. I'm going to go there. We're going to have her wrapped, in swaddling clothes and bring her to the car. And damn, she didn't walk. She's walking right to me. And yeah, she's walked to the car.
Wonder Woman dog.
I'm telling you, this dog. So I get her in the car, and she's sitting up and she's watching as we're driving, like everything's okay. And then we get in the house, and she walks up the stairs, and she's fine. She's, and I give her antibiotics anyway. So that happens for about 2 weeks. Then the antibiotics end. And then I noticed there's a plateau that she started eating again. She didn't eat for a few days because the anesthesia and because the medicines, but she started eating again. She was drinking water the whole time, but she kept eating and drinking, but she started acting drunk, and she started falling over, and she started tripping on herself, and she couldn't, and I was having to physically carry her up the stairs and physically carry her down the stairs because my bedroom's upstairs.
So what does that mean when a dog starts acting like that? You just know something's wrong? Something's
wrong. So usually when, at least our litmus test is, if they're still eating and drinking, then that means they're still wanting to live. They're still surviving. an animal will stop eating and drinking if they know that something is terribly wrong. Like there are animals who, like I think even dogs maybe, but there are animals in nature that will actually leave their families and go to die on their own of starvation in the woods. Like, there's an instinct in some animals that I'm done. Mm-hmm. So she was still eating and drinking. And so I thought, well, this may be it. Like, she's an old lady and, like for instance, my mother had surgery at 91 but she never fully recovered from the surgery and she passed. So I'm like, this could be the same thing where she's an old lady and she made it through the surgery, but is she going to fully recover from it? So I'm thinking, all right, this is it. I told Katie,
Back to the vet.
I said, I can't physically lift this dog this much. I live alone. And I said, this is too much. And Katie said, well, I'll take her because Katie has a backyard. She said, let me run her in the backyard and see if that improves. If not, we'll take her to the vet. Katie took her and she didn't improve that much. And Katie and Mr. Carter slept on the couch so that she didn't have to go up the stairs with her while she's on the floor. And so I took her to the vet. Okay. Long story short, took her to the vet. And he watched her, bump into things and fall over and everything. And he took her stitches out because they were getting a little irritated. And he said, well, let me run some labs. Her red blood cell count was back to normal because apparently when you take the spleen out, that's a lot of blood out of your system because your spleen is filled with blood. And he said, well, she's recovered, her red blood cell count's back to normal, that all her functions are back to normal. Her weight was fine. She had no temperature, like all the labs were perfect. And he said her white blood cell count is just a little elevated, meaning her immune system is fighting something. And he said, so what we're going to do, we're going to aggressively, hit this. And he gave me more antibiotics. This is yesterday, this vet visit that I'm telling you about. And she came home with me and I slept on the couch last night because she was too weak to go up the stairs and I was too weak to carry her up the stairs. So I slept on the couch last night. I almost missed this taping because I slept late. And she was up eating breakfast this morning, walking around.
This Wonder Woman dog.
Lazarus. That's what we call her, is Lazarus. And so, so she's, she's supposed to get that neck tumor removed at some point. So she's going to go back in for another, but she is truly toughening this out. And so Katie and I think that we would give her all these opportunities anyway, but because of Mr. Carter, we're like, we want to give, if we can do something, we'll give that dog every chance in the world. Mm-hmm. And then when it's time for her to go to heaven, when God finally calls her, we can say there is no reason to be upset. Like she had every opportunity and she took advantage of every opportunity and she stayed here as long as she possibly could. And that's the explanation I gave him with the cat. So my 20-year-old who passed, she was another Wonder Woman who just was a tough chick. I loved my tough chicks in the house. And, and that's kind of what I said to him, is like, she stayed with you as long as she could.
Right.
And so that,
you think he's understanding it? Like, how does he feel now that Gigi's been back and forth to the vet, lots of different surgeries and this and that, kind of like the roller coaster of it?
He's still anxious because Katie said when I called, because it was a late night appointment, my vet, he's close to retirement. So he goes in first thing in the morning and then he closes shop. He's not there during the day. So he wanted to see her. So I went in like at 6:00 at night to go see him. And so when I got in the car to call and tell her, Mr. Carter spends some days with his grandmother doing school. And so he had just gotten to Katie's house. And she said, that's the first thing he asked about. Like, I had not informed him all day about what was going on. But the first thing he wanted to know about was, how's Gigi? Is Gigi still here? Is Gigi in heaven? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, he's a conscientious, sensitive man. Like and
I think that thoughtful. There are some kids that are really connected to animals. Mm-hmm. There's something about children and animals and that sweet connection that they have together. And so I adopted. She's doing okay, because when we first started talking this morning, I was like, what is today's show going to be like? Because if Gigi went to heaven last night, this is going to be rough. And so I'm so glad she's okay for now. Yeah, she's okay.
I told you, I said, I need an extra 10 minutes. I can't, I gotta, And it was because I slept on the couch and I didn't have an alarm. And because of daylight savings, when I woke up at my normal 7:00 time. Anyway, long story short, it was.
I'm just so relieved because when I saw that I need 10 more minutes, that text come in. I was like, oh no.
I needed 10 more minutes to pick up Lazarus so that she could, because she still needs help getting up so she could eat her breakfast. But I know that we've gone a long time about Gigi, but if you don't mind, because you have a dog too, and will you just explain how you got your dog? Because I love this.
Yeah.
You talk about Angel. Jen Hobby is also an angel. So,
well, I don't know. I sort of caused the destruction at first, so I don't know if I feel like that. But yes, our dog is Carolina, and much like Melissa's dog Gigi, she is old. We think she's about 13. I met her before I even met my husband. And I will say that Carolina did not like a lot of the guys that I dated when I was single, but she loves Grant. So that was a good sign. When we first started dating, I was like, oh, she likes this one. Okay, I'm going to go with her intuition because in the past, mine wasn't all so good. Anyway, okay, so how we met is I was on the back roads in the woods near the mountains in North Carolina. And I was late to go meet. I'm trying to figure out how many details of this story to share. I was late to an appointment. And so I was speeding, and I drove a hybrid at the time, which those cars are very quiet. They don't have the same engine noises that a normal car has. So it was just speeding down the road, quiet as can be. And out from the woods runs Carolina, and I hit her. I mean, there was no stop. I slammed on the brakes, but there was no stopping. She didn't hear me coming. I didn't see her coming till way too late. She came down a hill. You know how on those mountain roads, there's like, almost like a hill or a mountain that was all green to the right of me. And she just came bolting out of there. She must have been chasing a squirrel or something. Who knows? But I ran right over her. And I thought, oh my God, that was a dog. And I just killed it, whatever it was. So I pulled over to the side, and I was with somebody at the time. We checked her out. Didn't know it was her at the time. I mean, just really banged up, but alive. And I was like, we can't leave this dog behind. So by that point, we had pulled over to the side. There was a pickup truck of a country gentleman who had pulled over. And I thought, he's going to pull out a gun and kill her, right? Like, this is what I thought was going to happen in the woods in North Carolina. Right? So I'm like,
that's usually a horse, but yes, go ahead. Yeah. I mean, he could shot the dog.
I wasn't sure what this person was going to do. So it's like, okay, please don't get your shotgun. Like, I'm going to take care of this dog. So we get the dog in the car, and long story short, get her to a vet. She was, she had a broken leg and lacerations everywhere. So they stitched her up. She was covered in fleas and ticks, emaciated, very much of a neglected dog in some way. And she, so the vet got her stabilized. So they got her out of pain. They got her cleaned up, got all the fleas and ticks off of her. They, stitched up the lacerations, but they said, we are a small little town vet's office. Like, we cannot do a surgery. So either we need to amputate this dog's leg or get her to a different animal hospital. So at the time, I was on the radio with Melissa, and so talked about it, boohooed about running over this dog. And then I heard from a vet, an animal hospital that helps rescue animals. And sure enough, they said, we want to help out this dog. Let's just get her here. So let's get her from this tiny little vet's office up north. Let's get her down to Atlanta. And the vet said, oh, and by the way, I'm a pilot. And I was like, you're a what? Yeah, I'm a pilot. We're going to life flight her down to Atlanta to the vet's office. I was like, really? He said, yeah, do you want to come? Yeah, of course I want to come. So I hop on this little plane with the vet and his assistant pilot, and we fly up there to, it was in Blairsville, fly up there, get her in, and fly her back down. 6 hours of surgery. And she's 11 screws later and a hip replacement. And she became my dog at that point.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is like, Jen adopted the dog she hit. And I just think that is so wonderful. And Carolina is living the life, man. She is.
My mom always says that she went from the outhouse to the penthouse.
That's true. I mean, yeah.
Oh man, and she was tied up somewhere in the middle of the woods because we did go back to try to see if near the scene of the accident, if there was an owner to, I didn't want to steal this dog from anybody. There was nobody that claimed her. And there were a lot of stray dogs running around in that area. When I started to try to take her for walks and train her on a leash, she would walk in a circle around me, like almost instinctively.
She was tied up.
And that's what the dog trainer said, is that she was tied somewhere. And a dog that is tied to a tree or a post or whatever will walk in circles to get their exercise. So as soon as I would put her on a leash, she would go back in her mind to being, they thought
muscle
she already,
memory.
Yeah, they thought she already had a litter of puppies by the time we met her, but they thought she was only about a year old. So that's where we get to the age of 13 now. But yeah, she's got a dog. She's got a posh dog bed in every room. She, only walks for as far as she wants to, and then she comes back inside. She's so sweet, and
she's adorable. And the thing that Gigi and Carolina have in common is they're both divas.
Yeah.
So I mean, as sweet and as gentle as Gigi is, I'll give you an example. While she was going through all this, I would not let her up on the couch because I didn't want her to jump down and hurt her incision. And she took her nose and she knocked things off the coffee table and looked at me like, bitch, I won on the couch. And so, so again, she's but when the attitude is there, that she's feeling good. So it's okay. But
Carolina will bark outside. Like, you have let me outside for 3 minutes and you have not let me back in yet. You crazy lady. Yeah.
So I just know that a lot of our audience have dogs, and we just wanted to talk about it. I never talk about Gigi online. So, and I don't know why. I guess because I adopted these 2 kittens because the cat had died, because we needed some new life in this house. I mean, I got, old animals, and Mr. Carter needed to see something from a baby up. So I adopted these kittens.
Yeah.
And I usually post about them.
You got COVID pets.
I did.
You got COVID kittens. Come on.
COVID kittens.
Whole world now's got all kinds of new pets. There's all kinds of new family members because everybody's bored during COVID, needed some happiness, and we survived COVID with just fish. So I'm feeling pretty proud of ourselves.
You got some. Yeah, I have a brood of animals in this house, but the COVID kittens turned 1 yesterday. So
we were pretty close to a COVID puppy. I'm so glad that didn't happen because Carolina deserves to be the queen of the house until she decides to go.
Exactly.
So see, the Friendzy is where you can get real about what is going on at this stage of life. It's not always easy or pretty, but we celebrate all of it.
Yeah,
on the Friendzy,
a 51-year-old, a 51-year-old that sleeps on the couch is different than when I was 18 and sleeping on the couch. So, so my question to you have you subscribed to the Friendzy? If you haven't, it is completely free. There is no reason why you shouldn't. No, we're not going to guilt you through that. But if you have subscribed to the podcast, which we know several have, thank you so much. We want you to tell a friend because, I mean, the conversations we just had were women talking to women with real stories, and we want everybody to take part. So please tell your friends about the Friendzy, subscribe to the Friendzy. We appreciate it very much. Our featured guest today is Chassie Post, a TV Style Correspondent, host, and lifestyle editor who is well known for bringing her upbeat style savvy to women across the country. As a guest on national television shows such as GMA, The Insider, Access Hollywood, Live with Regis and Kelly, CNN, The Steve Harvey Show, and more, Chassie covers the hottest trends in all things style. So it is our pleasure to introduce to you our new, best, and most stylish friend, Miss Chassie Post.
Chassie Post, welcome to the Friendzy.
Yay!
Hi, ladies. Oh, I'm so excited to be here with you guys. Oh, thank you for having me.
Go ahead, Jim.
To have you here. I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited for everybody to get to know you because Chassie and I met years ago, and I'm so excited to reconnect. This is just awesome.
We did meet years ago. I'll tell you how I met Jen Hobby, a mutual buddy of ours. We call him BPF, but his name is Brian Patrick Flynn. He was a producer on Movie and a Makeover. And so Jen, we were making over, I'm trying to remember what we were doing. We were making over part of your awesome living room to create a party.
Yes.
Girls were coming over, and I was the person on Movie and the Makeover saying, so what we did is we added this tablecloth to bring a punch of color into Jen's space. But here's the thing. Jen had the most amazing loft, cool situation space in Atlanta, didn't need our help at all, but it was so much fun. And I got to meet her and hear about how she woke up at 3 a.m. every morning to be on the TV, to be on the radio. And I was just, and Melissa, you guys are close buds. I mean, you know what a light she is. And
oh my gosh,
I'm jealous.
And I loved that loft apartment too. I know it was at it was a challenging time of her life, but it was like my then girlfriend's brother came and put the bed together. Wasn't it at that loft that he put the bed together? Yeah, that was sweet. It was a whole like community effort to get Jen in that loft and happy in that space. So it was fantastic.
And of course, then we've kept in touch. Digitally. I watch what she's doing. I saw her when she nailed the audition for Regis and Kelly, or was it Kelly and Michael at the time? And then my buddy Jen shows up as the co-host, and I'm like, yes. And, just followed really to, your courage and strength and the way you supported your daughter going through what Reese went through is so inspiring. So inspiring, and the way you're helping other children now. I saw Jen on Instagram, and she and both of her daughters. What was the day you guys? It was might have been even a holiday, and that you said, okay, so we're celebrating by, showing up with toys for kids at the Children's Hospital in Atlanta, and I thought, look at that mama, teaching kids how to give back. And then how about your daughters, what they're doing? Incredible. So Melissa,
yes,
by proxy, you're buddies with Jen. I know you are totally awesome. So I'm glad to meet you in person.
I'm happy to, by association, be cool, because I agree with you that yes.
Well, we're all moms, and we're all trying to do our best with raising good human beings, and I think that God gives us a lot of struggles and things that we go through in our life so we can learn from them. And that was, the biggest struggle that I've ever been through in my life is our daughter's cancer journey and her battle. And I want that to be a part of her story in a way that she knows that she's here for a reason. And that reason is to use her story to serve others and to serve the world. And I think that we've got to start modeling that for our kids at a really young age, so that it just becomes a part of who they are. It's not something they discover as adults, that it just becomes like, oh, this is what we do. And so that's why we try to do that stuff a lot. And, the family's going through it. I know what they're in the middle of. I know what they're facing and what their everyday life is like. And so it's like, anytime we get the chance to step up and serve and try to help ease that burden, we want to.
I love hearing that. And I just think that idea, sharing that some of the most challenging times in your life, you could possibly make you fit to be of the most service in the world, our experience and our strength and our hope, going through sometimes some really struggling times, we can share with others and hopefully help them. And it's beautiful that you're teaching your little ones, this now. What if we all knew this stuff? What if we knew this before we ran into hard times? So I love that you're sharing that, on social media and inspiring other people to take, the experiences that they have and see how maybe they can help someone else by sharing it or showing people, how you can turn it around and give back. It's really beautiful. So
Well,
bravo.
Yes, bravo to Jen. And Chassie, you kind of do something similar for people, though, when you talk about kind of making that transition into being something that is of light for other people. Okay. So it was something we talked about right before we got on air. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see this. But Chassie has this big, beautiful butterfly behind her in her home. And I said, I love your butterfly. And you mentioned how you love butterflies. And then I said, well, she has inadvertently created the symbol, I think, for women 40 plus, which is you live, like Jen said, through all these obstacles. You have all this wisdom. Hopefully you have some kind of self-confidence through that, or at least that's what we're trying to help you with. And then you emerge into this beautiful butterfly for the last few decades of your life. I think you end on such a high note. So Chassie, we started that conversation and they were like, no, we got to get this on. We got to get this on air. So talk about this. Talk about how you help people feel better about what they have on, what they're surrounded with in their homes, how they can be happier the older they get.
Golly, I just love it. It's so fun. When we're in our heads, we have almost no objectivity, right? Like I can't see in myself when I get in a group and start chatting, what other people's can see. And, we reflect that mirror, right? And so I live with about 9 billion butterflies. I have butterfly wallpaper, this thing that you're seeing, if you're watching, it's a reflection in a mirror. I think it was a science project. I mean, I found it on the street in New York City years ago. I picked it up, put it on my wall, and it has become like my spirit animal. But I didn't connect it to, this chrysalis and coming out and getting more confident as you experience more, which really is age. I was listening to y'all's Erin Gray podcast, which was awesome. I mean, she's really inspiring. I mean, talk about going out and getting it, man, how does she fit it all in? Right. But I loved that idea that I think Jen was talking about how age is your biggest asset. And looking at it that way, yes, like if I look back and I can look at my mistakes as, guideposts helping me to sort of navigate and feeling more confident. No, well, I don't have to do that again, versus these massive failures. Then look at all look at all the help I've got, just this experience. And I've got to say, I've been thinking about failure a lot lately because I have traditionally been slow to recover. Like I'm an Atlanta girl. I'm actually from Atlanta. And my first foray into, the business world is I opened an art gallery in Atlanta, and it was so fun. It was so amazing. I loved artists. I loved being around them. But turns out that it was supposed to be a business. Like I was great at bringing people together, but selling stuff, huh? And then I decided, maybe I'll also open a gallery in New York. And that's how I got to New York. And I was working with all these young emerging artists. And it was heaven, but I didn't know how to sell a painting. And so I couldn't fund a museum. So that was short-lived. And I was a big failure. And I licked my wounds for such a long time. Like I could feel that shame. Oh, I didn't do it well enough. And I so wish I could take those like self-centered decades just in my head. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, I should have done this. And just looked at it like, all right, that didn't work. What did I learn from it? Next, because I see people do that all the time. And I'm like, how did you do that? And they said they just did the next right thing. So that's God, I don't even remember the question, but you got me so excited. You got me so excited about getting out and failing as much as I can now. Like that's my sort of mantra, because you're right. We do have some signposts along the way. We can, learn from, the challenges, perhaps the mistakes. And so I'm really excited about seeing women who are, over 40 trying new things. And a lot of them are really good at it, right? Like we've
Yes.
learned a thing or two.
Absolutely, we have. Now, Chassie, I know that our audience has seen you on the Today Show, has seen you hanging out with Wendy Williams. So take us back to this career shift from art gallery to television lifestyle expert. How does that get started? And what's it like to do your job?
Well, art gallery, as I said, I could not fund a museum, so that crashed and burned. And the only money I ever made once I got up to New York is I started to rent out the gallery space for photo shoots or film shoots, and people would come in and do that. And I didn't know what my next move was going to be. And I was really always inspired by art and fashion and music, and people would come in and they do stuff. And one day this stylist walked in, they were doing a shoot, and I didn't really understand at that time that, like, when you see a photograph in a magazine, that there are 47 people standing next to that person to make that effortless image, right? I just thought everybody, like, they knew what to wear, and God, their hair looked good, like, so. So I didn't get it. And so I saw, like, in that space, how there was someone who picked out all the clothing, they styled this person, there was hair and makeup. I saw the magic that happened. And so I thought, ooh, I would love to learn about styling, fashion styling. And so the woman, the stylist, she was a celebrity stylist. And turns out, if you're willing to be an intern, people will let you do a lot of stuff. Free labor. So at the time I just said, can I learn from you? Do you need any help? And she said, oh yeah, I need some help. And so I was her assistant. And so I was, got to be on my hands and knees and, pull up Liza Minnelli's pantyhose for the Vanity Fair shoot. Like, I got to do all of these, really, she introduced me to this incredible world. And then, I love women helping women, right? She was the first person to recommend me, for a styling job at Oprah, and when I was, branching out. And so I started work as a fashion stylist. And then one day a friend called and said, hey, we're doing this thing on ET. We need somebody to talk about, fashion styling, and then slip in something about platinum clear gel, a secret platinum clear gel, deodorant. And I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that. And so I did it, and I didn't think twice about it. And then one day I was at my mother and father-in-law's, and my sister-in-law was starting a new magazine at Condé Nast. And I mean, I don't know what channel this Eat Entertainment Tonight thing ever came on. I never saw it, but we were sitting there and the darn thing came on, and she was like, huh? Oh yeah, we need somebody to do TV for our magazine at Condé Nast. You should do it. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know that was a job. I didn't know editorial television was a thing, that people came on TV and talked about stuff. And so that worked out. And that magazine, I don't know if maybe somebody, might remember it, but it was called Domino Magazine. Yes. And it was sort of the first sort of lifestyle magazine that was, for real people. It was kind of a you can do it too, and it was really celebration of your home. And so that was my job, to show up and translate what was in the pages of the magazine onto television. And so that meant, Today, GMA, every kind of show. And then that's how I got to Jen with Movie and a Makeover, right, because we were talking about how your home can make you happy. And then
and there were a lot of butterflies during that too.
Tons of butterflies.
Created this beautiful butterfly tree as the centerpiece in my kitchen. Remember? I still have the butterflies, and my little girls create crafts with them. So the butterfly has been your signature for a very long time.
That makes me so, so happy. Yes. And so from there, it just went from there. And then I went to another magazine, and then I went out on my own, and I tell you, the one thing I've learned that I am an expert in, because a lifestyle expert is a big umbrella, guys. We're all lifestyle experts, okay? Right. I am an expert in enthusiasm. I just love talking about what I'm excited about. And, for a long time, I'm like, God, what am I doing? I mean, what is this work? What's the purpose? And then one day I'm like, oh, I can't overthink this. Maybe I'll be a light for somebody today. My excitement over this hat, maybe that'll take somebody out of what they're thinking about for 3 seconds, if that's all I can do. So it's a lot of fun, early mornings, as both of you know about that.
Right.
So, but so much fun.
Well, I think enthusiasm is contagious. I mean, you absolutely make a difference in our life for somebody. But one of the things in your story that just kind of it was brought to my attention is the fact that you adapted to everything that came along. I mean, we talk to so many women who they have this plan and they have this schedule, and if things don't work out, then they give up or they're upset or they're resentful. Where in your case, everything you talked about, just one thing led to another thing, which led to another thing. It sounds like you were just open to the possibility. Okay, sure, I'll try that. Sure, I'll try that. And so many women, especially the older they get and set in their ways, as we always hear, women and are at an older age, it's hard for them to be that flexible. So can you talk a little bit about emotional flexibility and how maybe some people can stop being so rigid about their expectations?
That's so interesting that you say that, because when it's happening at the time, I was as worked up as the next person, what am I where is this going? And one thing that really, really did make a difference for me is there's a famous quote that 99% of all life is just showing up. And somebody told me that once, and I believed them. And this idea, and I didn't know that I was doing it, but when I became conscious of it, then I would urge myself along. But this idea of saying yes to life. So realizing that I would see something like, let's say someone said, yeah, you can be my assistant, you can work for free. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so behind. I want to be where she is. I want to be doing this. Oh, I can never get there. Oh, it'll take me too long. Look how old I am. I'm starting later than everybody else. All this goes on in my head. But when I can just show up, my experience has been looking back, and it didn't feel that way at the time. But when I just decided to show up, all kinds of things happened, like stuff that I could have never put in play had I thunk it up. There's something that happens when we're around other people, just like we were talking about, like you show up and maybe that situation or scenario is not the scenario, the outcome you were hoping for. But guess what? Maybe somebody in that room is like, we're not doing that right now, but now you made me think. I'm actually looking to do X, Y, Z. You might be good for that. I mean, that's happened to me every sort of next step that I've had has been just by virtue of walking through the door, honestly. And then I guess maybe that's openness, maybe that's willingness. I don't know what that is, but I didn't plan it out. And it was really just through others. And I guess this idea that as a group, as a tribe, a tribe called Breast, by the way, that's a hysterical name for your podcast. I couldn't get over that. I loved it.
So close. So close.
We were almost close. And
we were almost of the Scone Age. Oh my God, guys, you're genius. But anyway, like our tribe, right?
Yeah.
Like we are so much stronger together. And I never realized that. I just thought everybody had to barrel through on their own. And guess what? Like, when things start firing, when you walk, if you can just get into the room, and a lot of times that's just by showing up, then sometimes, magic happens or the next step appears. I couldn't tell you how to get from A to Z, but I can tell you how to get to A. And that's just sometimes.
I love that.
Sometimes enough.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
I guess.
Chassie, I want to know about style, and is style connected to confidence, and how?
That's a great question. What do you guys think? I always think that, I don't know if the person is confident, but I guess there's confidence in knowing yourself. But I love people who show me who they are, right? Like, it doesn't have to be what is stylish now or what the magazines are saying. I think it's fascinating to get clues about what people love, with whether it's their house or what they're wearing. You learn a lot from me when you see a butterfly or like a sequence. You realize that that I'm a bit of a maximalist. But with others, like when I see people who it's fascinating. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but you probably know Jenna Lyons, who was, head of J. Crew for 27 years. She's got a new show on HBO Max, and it's called Stylish by Jenna Lyons. And it's fascinating because the show is about her next move. So she was the head of J. Crew. She sort of showed everyone, like America, how to dress, right? How to put sequins with tennis shoes, or, how to be confident in what you're wearing, how to mix it up, high, low. And so this show is about what her next venture is going to be. Like, she's working it out in real time, and we're watching. Like, she has no idea. So she talks about this pressure of, oh my gosh, 27 years at the helm. But I'm interested in not just fashion. People know me for fashion. I'm interested in interiors. I'm interested in products. I'm interested in beauty. And it's fascinating watching her like work this out on television. And I've got to say, it's her style and she's very open with like her peculiarities, like what she likes, and you learn like how she thinks about style. And not often do we like get to pull off the lid and see like, how people are thinking. And she really does let us in. And it's so funny, like everything she wears is completely edited. There's a reason, there's a why, and you learn so much about her, because she's telling us. But like, if you looked at her, you'd be like, yes, I get it. I get her. So like, if there's someone wearing a color, I just love seeing people go for it and be themselves. That's the most interesting, right? Like, and maybe your house or what you're wearing is a little window into what you love, what excites you. I'm going to remember that next time I don't have anything to say to someone, like at a cocktail party, I can just look at what they're wearing and be like, oh,
well, I do think there's
more.
Yes, I think there is some insight in style and personality. And I want to talk a little bit about how a lot of times when you say stylish and style, it's equated with younger women. And so let's talk a little bit about older women and how we don't seem to celebrate the styles of, 40s and 50s, but even 60s and 70s and 80s. I mean, it doesn't mean that you can't be stylish the older you get. So do you mind talking a little bit about that and how it's hopefully going to improve?
Yes. When I think about celebrating style at any age, I will say, I think Oprah and her magazine did a really good job at that. I remember sort of among my first fashion styling jobs were these photo shoots where they would celebrate women, truly diverse women from all backgrounds, from all ethnicities and all ages. And I had never seen that before. Like if in a magazine you're seeing an older woman, it is a woman who is very celebrated, right? She's had this illustrious career and, and she was probably drop dead gorgeous from day one, So I loved seeing these women and celebrating pretty much every age. And their credo was, yeah, like, I mean, what's age? You know, and so lately I have seen, you know, like, let's face it, we're getting older. And I mean, I don't want life and style and the feeling that you're relevant to stop. And it's funny how I don't know if you're, well, like, let's take someone, and she's not old, but you know, she's not in her 70s, but Jennifer Aniston, for example, you know, Gwyneth Paltrow, they still want roles, you know, at their age. So they're reinventing these spaces for them to feel relevant. And women are so, like you said, like, they're so much more interesting the older they get, right? Like, we care a little bit less. Like, you know what I love? I love grandmothers who don't give to, like, I mean, they'll say anything, right? Because they've lived a long time and they realize, like, what you think of me, it's been in my head, like a, you know, people pleasing and what other people are going to think of me. How many times has that stopped me, right? And when you hear someone like in their 70s just say it like they mean it, it's so refreshing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there are more spaces now really to celebrate every age. I look at a lot of my friends' Instagrams, and like, there's a lot of focus on like these women who hold true to themselves, who are older. You know, I remember I posted once this photograph of this older woman who was in this beautiful location. Like, she had her own style. And I think I've never gotten more like, whoa, oh my God, she's amazing. So I think there's an openness to it now. And it's incredible to see experience, you know, as beautiful.
And I will say,
it is.
And I think the African American and Hispanic communities have done a better job of having this honor system for their senior women in their communities. And I do think that the white community could learn something, because as you talk about, even in Hollywood, like some of the most prominent African American actors and actresses, you know, the female actors are women over 40, right?
Oh,
and they're killing it. And so yes. And so as you talk, I'm like, yes, you know, there should be more of a diverse idea that older women are the matriarchal societies of some minority groups. I think should permeate every race, and that we really hold older women on a pedestal more so than we do.
Totally. And it's really exciting to see how women, as they're getting older, like traditionally, especially in Hollywood, there were no opportunities. Like you hit your shelf life at what, 30? I mean, who the heck knows? But today you're seeing people create their own opportunities. And I love, you know, that leadership by example. You know, it can be creating your own opportunity for anything, like, you know, and that's a great lesson. And also, as you mentioned too, Melissa, like for not, you know, there hasn't always been a seat for everyone at the table. And as you mentioned, and it is incredible to see how diversity is really, really an important thing, and how much we learn. Like, God, one perspective, how boring. I mean, how boring. And also what a disservice. Like, it's like seeing a highly filtered photograph. Like, that's not reality. Well, you know what else isn't reality? Like seeing one perspective. So I'm so happy that there is, and it's been a long time coming, but a new focus on all kinds of voices, you know? Absolutely. I mean, who wants to hear my voice reflected on a loop, or someone who looks exactly like me? Like, you know, other experience. That's what's enriching. You know, as we get older, maybe, you know, we're open to learning more and considering other ways of doing things because we've done things our own way for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Chassie, I'm thinking of the Friendzy audience members and how they may be listening to you and saying, she's fabulous. She ran art gallery. She lives in New York. She has this, gorgeous backdrop behind her of these butterflies, but I'm stuck in a rut. How do you get out of a style rut? Whether that's your home, maybe your home's was designed 20 years ago or 30 years ago. And it's just kind of what you've had, but it needs updating, or your personal, style, your closet. How do you bust out of a rut and find a new style?
That's a really great question because I feel like I'm in a rut all the time. I've got to say, like,
really?
No way. Yeah. You're so stylish. I mean, you're on the Today Show. You're like on all these different places and you're always looking stylish, wearing your jumpers and your gorgeous heels and all these cute things.
You're kind to say so, but as we all know, like one thing I have learned a thing or two is, especially with social media, right? Like, that's also not reality. I show you my cutest moments, guys.
And filter it.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
When I can pull it together. And what I'm learning is I am not alone there. Like this whole idea of compare and despair. Oh, social media is like probably the biggest, what do you call it? Prodding thing, because like it's almost impossible to turn away from it. And I see everybody and I think the same thing. Oh God, they have it all together. I love that jumpsuit. They must be wearing that every single day. Well, I will tell you what I've been wearing for the past year is a pair of like $14 Amazon leggings that I showed on the Today Show. And then my friend was like, oh my God, well, you know what changed my life? My mother sent me a pair of Spanx exercise leggings. And she said, at first I was offended. What was my mother trying to say to me? But now I can't take them off. You really ought to get a pair. And this is how bad it's gotten for me. I did get a pair. I put them on and I'm like, oh my God, these are magical. But they're still they're not loose enough. Like that was like one step towards wearing blue jeans, like during the day as we're working from home. Like, so yes, I see what you mean. Like, it is great. We get it together to go on television, but I picked out my cutest outfit for that, guys. So I know how it goes, but so everyone has been in a style rut. So how do we change it? I think just by trying one little thing. Like, you don't have to, God, like people might see my apartment, they're like, oh my God, I've got to wallpaper my entire house with butterflies to like get in on wallpaper. No, you don't. Like you can see that and say, I'd like to try a little pattern in my house. Well, there are tons of ways to do it. Like, you could do one wall. You could do a door. You could do what I've seen a lot of people do during COVID? They'll take a bookshelf and, they'll wallpaper the back of a bookshelf. And, oh my God, the innovations are incredible. There are amazing companies now who make beautiful wallpaper, not that looks like just contact paper, but beautiful wallpaper that is affordable, that is peel and stick. You can take it off and it won't hurt your wall.
Wow.
So like little things like that. So you can try it out. So it's not forever. And because a lot of people are, afraid of pattern. But for me, I think with my home, I try to do what makes me happy. And luckily my husband doesn't notice. So and then with style, it's the same thing. I mean, I'm not sure he even realizes what I've done here, but
I love it. He's been walking through the room. He's like,
yeah,
It just seems lighter in here. Doesn't even
exactly.
Pattern on the wall.
What do you think about the butterflies? What butterflies? What are you talking
about? What? Your butterflies?
What about a style rut in your wardrobe? What would be one thing that could kind of bust you out of wearing the same thing all the time? Melissa and I were talking about it earlier. I was like, I had to stop buying garnet shirts because I looked in my closet and I have like 12 of them. And I'm like, okay, stop buying the same shirt. How do I get out of that?
Yeah, but garnet, the color is beautiful on you. That's one thing. Like I love, so I think, yeah, I mean, for me, it would be leggings, and most people only see me from the, you know, in the past year from the waist up. But for me, I know that I feel better, you know, when I get dressed, and I think about what makes me feel good. I like clothes that fit. I've got a closet of things that perhaps I've outgrown, but it's gorgeous and I can't, you know, give it away. And I've heard people say it, and I've come, well, I don't know, I'm working towards acceptance on it. Dress for who you are now, the life you have now. Like clothes that fit, clothes that inspire. I have to say, I love anything that twinkles or sparkles. So when I'm in a rut, if I take a little risk, just a little risk, one risk, and try it out, I find that in the same way my surroundings make me happy, my day can really change. If I'm trying something new, if I've got a little sparkle on, and I make just a tiny bit of effort, it turns out it doesn't take that much effort. I put in my mind like, oh man, like, what do I have to get a full outfit going? And no, I can try one little thing. Like if I've been afraid to try this color, maybe I can try that, and I don't have to, you know, spend $1 million. One trick I love is like accessories. They're one of the easiest ways to get in on any trend, and they're the most affordable. So I can try an accessory. Like if I see somebody wearing some trend that I really want to try, I don't have to dive all the way in. I can take a little piece and try it out.
So going beyond that, you know, when we were in our 20s, it was always the little black dress. Always have a little black dress in your wardrobe, and then you're good to go on any occasion.
Yeah.
So what does that translate to when you're older? Is there something that should be in every woman's wardrobe or closet when they're 40 plus that is equal to the little black dress?
Yes. I think it's a great pair of jeans that you feel good in. And guess what? I am still searching. They're the hardest. I often say like, oh, I invented jeans. Like back before, you know, when there used to be Levi's. Everybody laughs because I talk about it all the time. I'm like, you know what? The next big thing, it's going to be jeans. Remember when the low-waisted jeans came in, and then they got Lycra, you know, they got spandex in there, and then there was a boot cut. I mean, there is a jean for every single body. And I love like, and now the great news is there's so many, it's quite hard to find. So I'm still experimenting. That's my holy grail, is finding one really good pair of jeans that fit and that I love, that I'm just as comfortable in, because I think jeans for, you know, every age now, like it used to be, you'd never see a 70-year-old in a pair of jeans. And I mean, my mom looks great in a pair of jeans, much better than I do. And then I will say a great, you know, maxi dresses are great, but I think I love a midi dress, you know, one that just kind of hits above the ankle that you can throw on in a pinch, run out the door and feel good and you're together. But I think the pair of jeans, I talk about jeans with my friends 24/7. A friend of mine just called the other day and she's like, oh my God, did you see so-and-so? Did you see their jeans? I gotta get it. And I'm like, no, I haven't seen the jeans, and they are really perfect. I mean, they're so good, but you can't find them. And then they always look different on other people. So, jeans are a process. You got to try on 47 of them, and it is intimidating. But when you find it, it goes with anything. You dress it up. And in New York, and I think it's probably this way across the country now, you could wear jeans to a black tie affair. If you had a sequin top or something, people have gotten so much more casual. And so like a great pair of jeans can carry you can, put a great button down shirt, so stylish. You wear a little jacket with, oh my God, it's the one piece. When I see somebody in a pair of jeans, and it just makes me jealous.
I love it. And women need to remember it's okay to invest in yourself, right? They might go, like they wouldn't think twice about spending that money on their kids or their husband or anybody in their family. But then they're like, oh, I don't need it. Right. But we do. We have to. I love what you said about take that risk. And I'm going to buy a midi dress. And when my husband complains, I'm blaming Chassie Post.
It doesn't matter if your husband complains. It doesn't matter if your husband complains because he doesn't matter what he thinks, right?
That's right.
He probably won't even notice.
That's right. That's right, guys. Oh man, I love it. I'm learning many wonderful techniques on how to navigate my home life from you guys today.
Chassie, I wanted to ask you one more question, and then we're going to get into our Friendzy 5, which is like our rapid fire questions. But the last one is, during COVID, all of us have to be on camera more, and you're on camera every day, in your segments. So how do women have more confidence on camera if it's just on their Zoom calls for work? Are there any tips and tricks?
Yes. Number one, I learned if you're on Zoom, there's a filter. There's a little toggle that says it's called something. Yes, it's called
Zoom a year. Are you serious?
Oh my God. It's a game changer. 100%. It's called, and I think the toggle, like it's the worst name. It's called Improve My Appearance or something. I'm like, thanks a lot. It could just be called filter, but I'm going to look it up. I'm going to tell you guys, because that is how I was thinking today when you guys invited me. I'm like, oh, I'm such a work in progress. Like, what could I even share today? And that is going to help your viewers and listeners. The Zoom filter. It's next level. 2, lighting. You couldn't tell from it today, but because it makes a really big difference. If you're in front of natural light. We're shooting everything, like with all my TV stuff, we shoot everything from home for the past year. Like, talk about learning curve, right. I'm a lighting tech, art director, everything. And I can hardly text. That's how low tech I am. So like, the adventures in home broadcasting. But so I've learned a little bit. And so, a little, there are all these great little like clip-on lights, just like a little light. And you guys are great. When you guys sent me the, suggestions for, when you're going on any kind of video conferencing, it's great to have a little light in front of you. And they've got lights that clip onto your computer. You can take a lamp and just put it in front of you if there's not natural light. I notice when I think, gosh, my friends look so gorgeous today on this Zoom. What's going on? That they're typically sitting up in front of a window. They figured that out. Yes. But then my windows, then you'd have to see all my house, which means I would have to clean it. So, I sacrificed beauty for cleanliness. I love it. And then 2, I tell you, a bright color. You guys know it. But like with TV, a little color always helps, So, but number one, if you're Zooming, that Zoom filter. I will tell you, FaceTime, don't even get me on FaceTime. There is no way I've ever managed to look attractive on a FaceTime call. Period.
I doubt that's true, but okay.
It is. 100% true. And I haven't even figured out all those filters on Instagram. Like, oh, don't get me started, ladies. Do you have a forum? Can your listeners and viewers help direct? Oh,
yes. I'm sure we'll get lots of advice. Okay, Chassie Post, let's do the Friendzy 5. You ready? Okay. These are just rapid fire off the top of your head.
All right.
Number 1, where is your cozy happy place?
Bed. I love my bed. I love my bedroom. It's got another insane wallpaper in there. It just makes me happy.
Number 2, what's your favorite framed thing in your home?
Well, it's not technically framed, but I do love that butterfly. And I have a lot of art in here. A lot of Georgia artists in here, by the way. So I have a piece by Carolyn Carr that I love. Oh, maybe you can even see it in the window. Sharon Shapiro. This artist, Rita Ackerman, who I love. I love artists.
Awesome. And all women you just named. Love that too.
Yes. I love women artists.
Okay. Number 3, what's your most memorable birthday?
Well, that's a great question. It's going to be my next one because I figured out both my husband and my son forget my birthday all the time. And so this past Christmas, my son just turned 16. Shocking. I can't believe it. I still call him, oh, I just had a child. And they're like, oh, how old is he? And I'm like 16. And they're like, God, you talked about him like he was a newborn. And then I'm like, oh, yes, well, maybe that, yes, I'm so young and vibrant, my newborn. So they always forget. And so my husband's a musician and my son is a little musical theater guy and loves to sing. And so I asked nicely that they would, for Christmas, if my son would make a recording of one of my favorite songs. Aww. And I asked, I think for my prior birthday, they didn't do it or they forgot. And the Christmas before they forgot. And then finally they did it this Christmas. So awesome. My birthday's coming up and I'm going to ask for the same thing. So it's going to be my favorite to see that little or huge young guy now expressing himself.
Oh, that's wonderful. I know. Beautiful. Oh, I love that. Okay, number 4, what's a daily routine or ritual you stick to?
Well, I've started meditating. Oh, thanks to my friend, Susie Yaloff Schwartz, who was the executive editor at Glamour. She was the one who did what I did at Condé Nast for Glamour. She was on TV all the time and she moved to the West Coast and started a new app called Unplug. So she told me about her app and wow, she said, I mean, all you have to do is push a button every day. She would be a great person for your podcast. Talk about transformation. She is a powerhouse. So she opened, before all this COVID, she opened a meditation studio in LA called Unplugged. That was sort of like the soul cycle of meditation. And then she did an app. So every morning I get an email with a different meditation teacher, short, manageable meditations. And I love it. And so I have been practicing that consistently. And when she told me about it, I'm like, oh my God, I can't meditate. I'm too high strung. And she's like, yeah, you're the type of person who can most benefit from this practice. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. And they have them for under 5 minutes. It's just, it's been, I love it. She's awesome. And I appreciate her sharing this idea, going from TV every day to meditation. I love that swing.
So cool. And last one, number 5, what fashion trend did you jump on? And we ask everybody this, not just because you're a stylist.
Yes. Well, I am a maximalist. So anything with sequins, color, pattern. And I'm also an eBay sleuth. I'm constantly on eBay trying to track down some of my favorite vintage looks from the day. So God, I love anything from the 70s. I love Tom Ford's 1995 collection for Gucci, which was a take on the sexy, Studio 54 70s. I love vintage. So yeah, that's my, that's what I'm like what do you call, not a magpie, but what do you call those bugs that are attracted to anything that, light? Mosquitoes, not mosquitoes. what is it? I don't know. But if it sparkles, I'm there.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Chassie, what a joy this has been.
Are you kidding me? You guys are the joy. Can't tell you how often I push the dial for 99X. Oh my God. The biggest star 94. Guys, that is such big time. You're speaking. Atlanta is such a different city than when I lived there.
It has changed so much
every day.
We would love to have you back. So if you ever get back to town to come visit family or friends, you have got to let us know, because we want to take you out. And we promise we will wear something with sequins.
That's right.
You guys,
maybe a butterfly.
Thank you for making my day. Thank you for including me. And congratulations. Congratulations on all that and dim sum.
That was a great name, right?
That was so close to
we have so many great names.
But we were like, we don't know how to make dim sum, so we can't name our podcast that. I know.
Oh my God, you guys are so good and so inspiring. Thank you for sharing this with me, and thank you for celebrating all of us who are just trying to figure it out. Right? Works in progress.
That's right. No finish line.
That's right.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
All right, you too.
Bye, guys.
Okay, friends, let's grab a quick question out of the You Don't Know My Life box.
Yes. And my question for you today, Jen Hobby, is limousine story go.
Oh, I have a good one for my 21st birthday. Okay. So I turned 21 while I was at Florida State University. Go Noles. And had so many fun friends there. And my mom and dad actually surprised us, I think because they didn't want us going out and driving anywhere. They surprised us with a limousine. And so was, at my apartment with my friends, and sure enough, pulled up this stretch limo. And we all were decked out. Everybody that was 21 already before me was ready to go. They were like, this is initiation time. And at Florida State, there is a strip of bars that you do. Oh, and they called it something. The Waltz. They called it the Waltz. And the street was called Tennessee Street. Okay.
Well, all right, as it should be.
So it was the Tennessee Waltz, and that's what you did on your 21st birthday.
Hey, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the limo took us to Bullwinkle's, which is an infamous bar at FSU, and it was the place that was the hardest to get into. Like, you could not get in there with a fake ID. If you got a fake ID during school, you would never go try to use it at Bullwinkle's because they would take it. So it was truly the place you could only go when you turned 21. So I remember everybody dressing up. I remember there being boas, costumes, very excited. Everybody like all, dressed up probably in like platform wedges because that was the shoe. And, we called them like our like skinny black pants, like sorority pants was what they were called at FSU. Anyway, everybody's all dressed up, and we went to Bullwinkle's, and then you would just go down the line, and there was like little bar after little bar after little bar. And on your 21st, of course, everybody buys you all kinds of drinks and everything else. And I'm certain I barfed at the end. But yes, that's my favorite limo story.
Oh,
it was
I love it.
So much fun and such a surprise. And I can remember I don't remember the end of the night, but I remember the beginning like it was yesterday. Like my closest friends, like Bridget and Katie and Shay and my old roommate Christy, and just all of us having the best night. So much fun.
That is so well. It made me think of another limo story. Weren't we in a limo? This is not my story, but weren't we in a limo for a radio thing? And you were doing like a meditative thing to keep from throwing up. Do you remember that?
I don't know, but it sounds like me.
I don't know. It was, and I was with Katie at the time. We were in a limo, and some other. I don't know why we had a limo, but or were we in the fur bus? I don't know.
In the fur bus. We've had a couple fur bus nights.
It may have been the fur bus, but I mean, which is, kind of like a limo shag. But
I have a weird thing where if I've had too much to drink and I'm getting a ride home, Uber, whatever else, I get sicker in the motion sickness.
Mm-hmm.
Like it amplifies by 100 what I'm already feeling. If I'm walking around, I'm good. Right. If I get in a car with that motion sickness on top of having, being, I like to call it being overserved. Then it's not my fault.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, you were very adamant because you said, I'm not it was something about how I'm not a rookie, that anybody at our age should not be puking because you were drinking. Yes. And it was just like, nobody talked to me. And you looked like you were in a lotus position, like you were Buddha over in the corner of this vehicle. And I just remember watching you. I thought, I wonder if she's going to, and I was intoxicated. So I was watching you. We probably looked like a pair because I'm staring at you and your eyes are closed. And ananyway, but my
your turn. Limo story. Go.
Limo story. It was my high school graduation. Okay. So now this is
sweet.
I'm underage. So, I mean, this is years ago. So let's not judge anybody based on this, but I was 18 and my brother and sister who were 10 years older than I am. So they were in their late 20s at this point. They're the ones that got me the limo for my friends, but they also did not let us go by ourselves because we were 18. And so they sat in the front with the limo driver. They gave us privacy in the back, but they also provided us with the alcohol needed.
Oh, okay.
And I was not as much of a drinker as I was a partaker of the herb. So I was a pot smoker in high school. So, and again, this is 1988, so it was very illegal back then. And so that was also provided.
You were breaking the law.
We were breaking the law. And yes, and my parents are in heaven now, so that there's nobody's gonna get in trouble for this. Exactly. You can tell these stories now, but yeah, my brother and sister provided what we needed.
Oh wow.
And provided the limo, and their thought was, well, you're all going to go do that anyway. You're all going to go find your alcohol. You're all going to go find your pot, and so we're going to allow you to have a good night and be safe. And so and it was just us driving around. And I remember I got so stoned that there was a moment where I was staring out the car window and I'm thinking, gosh, Columbia, Tennessee, how much was there to do for us in a limo?
I mean, I'm guessing there's a trip through the Taco Bell drive-through.
Right. I mean, no wonder we didn't go anywhere because it's in Columbia. But anyway, so I'm staring out the window and apparently somebody was staring in for like a while, but I didn't see them. I was so stoned, I didn't see them until like the last minute. If you've never been stoned, there are things that there's a delayed reaction for things. So the reason that people seem a little drowsy and a little like slow is because your brain is functioning at a different speed. And so I didn't see this. So this person's face just popped and I screamed and everybody laughed because I was the only stoner in the car. So everybody else is drunk and I'm stoned anyway, hanging out the top of the limo. And yeah, that's my limo story that I got. I've been in limos as an adult, but it's something like you said about maybe your first time in a limo or you feel like you're getting away with something, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, my 18, I know I probably shouldn't tell that story, but my brother and sister, if they see this, be like, why the hell did you? I'm like, well, you're 60, I'm 50. What's going to happen? The statute of limitations is already over. So, but yes, that's something. Yes, I'm a proponent of the legalization of marijuana. So I absolutely believe that it should not be illegal. I think there's medicinal purposes to that could be used as opposed to narcotic painkillers, and I think that it should be legalized and used instead of some other drugs.
I don't think I agree with you. I mean, I agree on the medicinal use of it. I think, folks with seizures or kids or anybody that can benefit from it from a medical condition. And I also hate like how our jails are full of people that just smoked or sold pot, because I think that seems a little weird. Right. That they don't need, I don't think, as to be in prison that long. But I also think that there's a real danger in making it a free-for-all. But anyway,
that could be another conversation. Yeah.
I'm conflicted about it. Just because I think that I saw a lot of people, especially in college, who I think were addicted to it. And I think that I don't know a lot about the science or the research behind potential addiction, but I just know what I saw from experience. And I saw people who had great potential, who were incredibly smart, just waste their life getting high all the time. Just a waste. And I think maybe they were medicating other things. You know, like there's a lot of people that'll say like people that get stoned a lot are self-medicating. Maybe it's anxiety or, you know, past traumas or things like that. But I just witnessed a lot that I don't know. It makes me nervous if it were just a free for all. But I guess it is in some states already in the US anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, because I mean that point is valid. I guess I don't see it as any different than alcohol because I see
it's true.
I would rather be in a room full of stoners than a room full of drunks, you know, because I think that there's a lot of things that happen under the influence of alcohol, especially to women, that would not happen if people were influenced by marijuana, because alcohol tends to make you aggressive and marijuana tends to not do that. You know, so when I think of it in recreational use, when I think of it as, you know, it's something just different. So to me, it's no different than alcohol. You should not be driving. You should not be out. You should not, you know, if you're going to get wasted,
or abusing it. Yeah.
So I don't see the difference.
Right. Because alcohol can make you dance, but it can also go down a really bad path. So I guess the same with marijuana, it can make you chill and, you know, giggly, I guess. And then, you know, or it can go down a really bad path. I guess they both can. So,
and I'm telling the story about me getting completely stoned at 18 at my high school. Yeah.
See, it's a frenzy. We get real. We
get
real.
You the truth.
We just talk about real stuff.
All right. So now Jen Hobby has your mirror mantra.
Okay. This comes with a little story. I saw a sign posted in this little local shop in Sedona, Arizona. I was out there visiting with my husband. We celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
And Sedona is where we went on our honeymoon. And when we were there on our honeymoon, we were joking around and said, all right, if we make it to 10 years, we're coming back here because we love this place so much. So made it to 10, went back. It was beautiful. And so we're just kind of wandering around into these little shops. And there was a sign hanging outside the shop and it was hand painted. And I kind of glanced at it thinking it was going to be like, live, laugh, love, you know, one of those like, or with like a sweet little quote on it or, you know, but what it said on the sign really got my attention. It almost took my breath away a little bit because I had never seen this phrase before. But the sign read, you are responsible for the energy you bring into this space. And I was like, wow, that's really powerful. You are responsible for the energy you bring into this space. Now, if you've ever been to Sedona, you know it's a very woo-woo place.
Yes, hippy dippy, yes.
All about energy.
The vortexes, Jen. It's about the energy vortexes that are there. Yes.
It really is a very special place. So if you are like me and you're into all that stuff, you will love Sedona. And so it already is about energy, but I thought putting it back on each individual as their personal responsibility was really interesting to me. So I want you to just think about it this week. As you walk into a room, as you walk into your house after work, or as you walk into work, or as you enter a new space, you are responsible for the energy you bring into that space. And I think you can use it as a mirror mantra for yourself in your day. Like, I am responsible for the energy that I bring into this day. And I think you can also serve this up to others in your mind who aren't serving the energy of that space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of times we, as women, can adjust our energy level to the people around us. So let's say somebody is in your world, whether that's your workspace, your family space, your partner, whoever that is, can bring a certain energy with them. And you feel like it's your job to fix it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To adjust, or you adjust to their energy. So somebody's moody and low and cranky and whatever, and you feel like somehow you've got to dim your light to match theirs, right? It's like, yes. No. Remember this week, they are responsible for the energy they bring into this space. And you are also responsible for the energy you bring. So don't adjust to their energy. unless their energy is so high, it's bringing you up higher. Right. So just remember that. It struck me, and I've been thinking about it for months and months now. But that's it.
Well, I want to reiterate what you said about not adjusting, because so many times we dismiss ourselves. We dismiss ourselves usually at home. I mean, at work. I should just speak for myself. At home, I'm the one that will adjust to whatever somebody else is doing. And I'm trying to, and I've talked to Jen about this, that's one of the things I'm trying to work on as I grow older, is being secure in my own space. It's not just being responsible, but also just being aware of it and being secure in it, that it's okay for me to feel however I need to feel or want whatever I need to want. And not, I'm the baby sister. So I'm the one who's trained to be told what to do and to be told which room is mine, and to, move into my older sister's room that had already been decorated by her. And, so there were so many things growing up that were so subtle, but I didn't realize were really kind of taking away my sense of self. Right. And so I've had to work on that as an adult. And so that's something that I would use the mantra for, is my personal life. Whereas, like, if somebody comes in and they're, like you said, they're negative, they're frustrated, instead of me going, okay, well, I guess the night's ruined then. I guess the night's ruined. I guess if if you can't be happy, then the whole thing, it's like, if you're not where you need to be, then the whole experience, but why are they in charge? Why are they in charge of your energy?
Right.
So I do love that. And I have been to Sedona. So yes, it is absolutely, energy is a very important concept there. And I think there is something to that.
Yeah. So that's your mirror mantra for this week. I am responsible for the energy I bring into this space.
So I want to tell you about the Friendzy. I want to tell you about the Friendzy.com. That's the place where you can go and you can subscribe, because we send out a newsletter every week. Just for the new episode. We're not going to, bug you with our newsletters, but we send out a newsletter every week that we can deliver you the new episode of the Friendzy. Okay. That sounds like, look, we're taking all the work out for you, right? So just subscribe and then you get it. Then you can also go to YouTube and you can search for the Friendzy, and there you can see videos of our podcast, extended content, things that may not get into the podcast. We also have the Friendzy 5. If you want to see all the Friendzy 5s we do with our guests, like you just heard with Chassie, that we ask them these interview questions, we have that on the YouTube page. So we have all kinds of ways for you to experience the Friendzy and be part of the tribe. So again, thefriendzy.com, please subscribe. You can also go to YouTube and search for the Friendzy and see us there.
And is there a friend of yours who would enjoy this episode? Please share this with her. And if you like this show, you can share about it on your social media. Just please tag us at The Friendzy so we can see it and share it as well.
So we would like to take this time to thank some of our listeners. Amanda Stevens, thank you for subscribing and supporting The Friendzy. Tina Lepley, Alexis Rhodes, and Robin
Battaglia. I think it's Battaglia, right?
Robin, I slept on the couch last night, okay? To take care of a dog. So I'm so sorry. Battaglia. That's a beautiful name. That's what I'm going to name my next dog, is Battaglia, in honor of you. So thank you for supporting the Friendzy. And they did not solicit for these mentions and for me to wreck her name. We pay attention, so we sought you out. So thank you so much. Battaglia. That's a good dog name, right? Batty is short. I told you it was going to be slap happy. Okay. All right. We ready? We ready to go out? Oh, we're done already? Okay, here we go. Soundtrack produced by Tammy Hurt for Placement Music, written and recorded by Placement Music creative team member Mark Daniels.
The Friendzy's graphic design is by Helen Vickers and web design by Caden Jacobs.
We want to thank you for your time. We really do appreciate you.
Until next week,
trust your gut,
use your voice,
stop lying about
your age.
We'll see you next week.